All right, we are live, ladies and germs, and yes, I am alive. I know things have been kind of dead on my channel for the last little bit. I've just been really busy. Like, work has been hectic, to say the least. So I've just been extremely exhausted all this week. This is a review that probably should have been done on Monday, to be quite honest, but like I said, I've just been extraordinarily busy. But we're here. We're going to get this one done. And I'm doing it live because this is the 200th episode of The Fuel. So obviously, I want it to be live to kind of commemorate that. So, it is what it is. But we're going to talk about the All-Star race. And how Kyle Larson basically just whipped everybody's ass. So, let's go ahead and get into it. This is The Fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man. Welcome to this edition of The Fuel, where tonight we are going to be talking about the 2023 All-Star race at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Finally, after nearly 3 decades, the track was resurrected and brought back for the All-Star race. And even though it wasn't quite a sellout, there was like a few VIP packages I think that were still available. I mean, it looked pretty much like a sellout. And let me tell you something, the electricity that was in the air at that track, I mean, holy shit. Like, you could tell that the people of North Wilkesboro were happy to have NASCAR back. And, even though the All-Star race itself didn't really pan out, I think, the way a lot of people wanted, let's not underline the fact that this was a very successful venture for NASCAR, because let's be completely honest here, the last couple of All-Star races at Texas, I mean, and what basically amounts to a half-empty venue, I mean, it just doesn't look good at all, especially on television. Whereas you look at a track like North Wilkesboro, you get that same amount of people in there, and it looks, jam-packed. Everybody's having a good time. Well, for the most part, there were some things that happened during the race and after, which I will get to. But for the most part, I would say this race was a huge success for NASCAR, even if the race itself was a bit of a dud. But the fact of the matter is, people showed back up to watch this race, and I think it was a financial success for NASCAR overall. So, the All-Star Open was actually pretty good. Michael McDowell made himself look like a giant fool because he basically thinks he got wrecked by Ty Gibbs. And here's the thing: even though I'm not a fan of Ty Gibbs whatsoever, that was a racing deal. And then for Michael McDowell to basically try to wreck Ty Gibbs out of the way, that's bush league shit. I'm sorry. And he pretty much did the same thing to Bubba Wallace a couple of years ago. He right-reared Bubba Wallace, I think, in the Open as well. So, I mean, Michael McDowell's a fucking hack. And I know some people might say, well, he won a Daytona 500. Yeah, he only won that Daytona 500 because the Penske drivers crashed themselves while trying to fight for the win. And he basically managed to make it through just barely and got the win that way. So, don't even give me that bullshit. But, as far as the race is concerned, I mean, it started off pretty good. Watching these guys slip and slide around on this old-ass racetrack, that was pretty fun. And then the first caution came out when Ricky Stenhouse spun around. That was actually really the only thing of, that was the only incident of the day, really. At least on the track. And then several people came down pit road, including eventual winner Kyle Larson, and got tires. And he also even got a speeding penalty, so he basically had to start from the back. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens here. My goodness. Kyle Larson, and I've been seeing some people, basically say, oh, he's just a mid-level driver. Like, honest, I'm just going to be completely honest here. If you're honestly going to have the unmitigated gall to call Kyle Larson a mid-driver, and quite frankly, you're a fucking idiot. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're just a fucking idiot. Because you are one. Because, yeah, he had the fresh tires, but to go from the back of the field all the way to the front and then just absolutely pull away from everybody. I mean, he had a lead of almost 13 seconds by the time they threw the competition caution at the halfway point of the race. It's like, damn. I mean, that just goes to show you how good new tires were, because, I mean, this surface was basically like Darlington in that sense, where new tires were going to mean everything. So it's like, okay, what's it going to look like once he comes in and everybody gets equal rubber? Well, it was pretty much more of the same. He pretty much had everybody covered. He pulled out to about a 4-second lead, and that's pretty much where it stayed. And the other surprising thing was the final 90 laps actually went caution-free, which I guess really shouldn't be that much of a surprise if you've watched North Wilkesboro races in the past. Despite the fact that it is a short track, North Wilkesboro has been known to have long green flag runs. So I guess it really shouldn't be a surprise that the last 90 or so laps were run under green. And Kyle Larson ran away with it and won the race in dominating fashion, led over 140 some odd laps. But even though this race was a bit of a dud, it's honestly kind of a welcome relief, to be honest, because the last month or so, having to talk about, Chastain and all the stupid shit that he's been involved in, some of which not of his own doing, but, to have to go through all of that nonsense every single fucking week, it was just, I was honestly getting tired of it. So to have an all-star race, that even though it was uneventful for the second half of the race, I mean, I was fine with that. It's whatever. At the very least, we don't have to talk about any stupid controversial bullshit as far as the on-track product is concerned. However, the fan base pretty much reaffirmed why I will never defend them ever again, because while the race was going on, there was a fist fight in the crowd, and there was actually video. There's this guy in a white shirt, and he basically had like a goatee and all this other shit. He was basically inebriated all to hell, so he was escorted from the track. And then he tried to sneak his way back into the track to see the finish of the race, and was actually arrested for second-degree trespassing and public intoxication. So yeah, hope that all those fines and shit was worth trying to watch the finish of this race, dude. So, good on you for that. But then, the dumbass award of the night goes to the person who basically was able to get onto Bubba Wallace's radio after the race. He managed to finish second. He actually did a pretty good job. Of course, a lot of people are going to point to the finger that Bubba Wallace gave during his post-race interview, but he was doing that to like a friend of his, like being, stupid. So that's whatever there. But there was somebody who got on the radio and was basically being a racist asshole towards Bubba. And here's the thing. Now, I will be the first one to admit that I've had some harsh criticisms towards Bubba in the past, namely after what happened at Kansas last year when he right rear hooked Larson and then tried to fight him afterwards. I mean, I basically called him a clown, and I was not very accommodating towards Bubba Wallace in that moment. And it wasn't because of his ethnicity. It wasn't because of the color of his skin or any of that shit. I basically tore him a new asshole because of the way that he conducted himself on the racetrack. It has nothing to do with his skin color, his nationality, his ethnicity, his sexuality. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay, the only thing I care about is how you conduct yourself on the racetrack. That's what I review you on. That's what I judge you on my reviews. And the way he conducted himself that day was piss poor, and I let it be known. But it has nothing to do with his skin color or anything of that nature. I judged him based on his conduct, which was piss poor. And that's what I based my reviews on. So, for this person to basically get on the radio and tell him that we don't want you in NASCAR, basically just being an absolute racist fucking prick. Those are the kinds of people that we do not need in this sport. And NASCAR was launching an investigation into it, trying to figure out the person who did it, and I would imagine if they find out who did do it, they will probably bar him from ever attending any NASCAR events ever again. So, to the person who did that, if they find you, you're a fucking moron. So good on you for that as well. Just two prime examples of why I will never defend this fan base again, because this fan base is just full of a bunch of fucking Neanderthals. And what happened in the All-Star race, during the All-Star race, and after, it just proves my point. I will never defend this fan base ever again. I said that at one point last year. I said I will never defend this fan base again, and I will stick to that. Because they don't deserve it. They just don't. But that's pretty much going to do it for this edition of The Field. Just wanted to kind of get on here and talk about the All-Star race. I mean, there's really no point in showing the results because, I mean, the only thing that anybody's going to remember is the winner, and it was Kyle Larson by a fucking long shot. So, it is what it is. But as for my final rating for the All-Star race before we get out of here, like I said, the first half of the race was pretty interesting with some good racing, some 3 and 4 wide at some points, especially on the restarts, and then Kyle Larson bum rushing up through the field. That was pretty fun to watch. And then the second half of the race rolled around, and it was just a snooze fest. But it is what it is. Overall, I still think that going back to North Wilkesboro was the right thing to do. I think if they make some the right adjustments, and here's the other thing I want to talk about. People were ragging on North Wilkesboro and saying, "Oh man, this race wasn't good." Here's the thing that people need to realize: this is not a North Wilkesboro problem. This is a next-gen car problem. This has been a trend in NASCAR this year, where there have been a lot of races that have sucked ass. There have been some exceptions, like the Daytona 500, Talladega, Circuit of the Americas. Those could have been good races and had the potential to be until they were ruined by their finishes. Kansas has probably been the best race so far this year in the Cup Series overall because we actually got a finish. But other than that, I mean, a lot of the other races are just nothing burgers. Phoenix sucked. Bristol sucked. Martinsville sucked. Okay, Dover sucked. Darlington sucked. A lot of races this year have sucked ass. And it has a lot to do with this car. They need to make some adjustments to this car because right now the product just fucking sucks as a whole. So this is not a North Wilkesboro problem. This is a next-gen car problem. And it has a lot of problems that need to be addressed. So my final rating for the 2023 All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, it's 4 out of 10. Still below average, but I'll tell you one damn thing. It's a hell of a lot better than that disaster of an All-Star race at Texas last year. My God. That will forever be known as probably the worst running of the All-Star race in its entire history. And that is fucking sad. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel. I am caught up finally on fuel reviews. So we get to start fresh tomorrow because tomorrow is the truck race at Charlotte. And I got truck, Xfinity, and then the Coca-Cola 600, assuming of course it doesn't get rained out. Which is always a possibility, it seems like, with the 600. But thank you very much for watching this edition of The Fuel. And until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out. See you later. This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PACKERMAN to save 10% on any order. What's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out.